What is happening, guys? It is Tuesday, and we're at the Hack and Pack shop. And I got a mirror in my ass. Hang on here. Let me just move shit. Got to be kind of comfortable for this conversation. There we go. Can you guys see me okay? I think you can see me okay. I'm basically going to answer a bunch of questions for you guys today. You guys have been emailing me on Facebook and on YouTube, about what I like doing, why did I start doing what I'm doing, how did I get started, and what's kind of the motivation behind it all. Like any occupation, guys, you got to start with having a passion for whatever you do. You don't go work at McDonald's because you want to work at McDonald's. It's kind of like a stepping stone type of job, okay? But in the back of your mind, you have an idea of what you want to become as you become an adult, okay? And sometimes as an adult, you change what you want to do as a career. But it all really stems back to childhood. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history about me and my family and kind of how I got started. So it kind of puts all these clues together for you, and it's a hell of a lot easier than typing it all. I was born in '74. I'm 38 years old. My mother was a nurse. My father was a sheriff's deputy at the time. Okay? Now they're both retired. My father retired as the sheriff of the county. Okay? He had worked through his career, starting out as a junior deputy in his in his teens, and worked his way up to be top cop of the county. And then, a few years ago, he'd retired. My mom, same thing. She started out as like working in a doctor's office all the way up to becoming a nurse. And then she retired. My grandfather, my mother's father, was an engineer for General Motors. He was actually on the design team for the early fuel injection units that they put on the early Vettes. If you guys remember the inline 6-cylinder Vettes, they were fuel injected. He was on that design team, him and like 10 other people. He was also on the design team of the early quadrajet carburetors, the early ones, guys. Okay? Why did he do it? Because he had a passion for it. And luckily, before he had passed away, I got to sit down and really talk to him about his career, and why he did it. And pretty much it's the same thing. It's something he wanted to do as a child. He was in the Navy, okay, and he worked his way up, started working for General Motors, and he became an engineer. I mean, he's got tools from rebuilding carburetors and building them and dialing them in back from the 60s. Like General Motors issued tools for these things. Okay, my stepfather now has them in his toolbox, and hopefully they'll get passed on to me someday. My other grandfather, my dad's father, was actually like an architect slash builder slash designer. He built many homes around this area. He designed some things right around Wolcott, New York, okay, which are still standing today. Whether it's the faces of buildings or things right around Wolcott. He lived in Florida for many years, and he'd actually kind of lived all over. But in Florida, he'd been on a design team for some shopping plazas, some homes, housing communities, things like that, which is something that he always wanted to do. My uncle, he's a contractor. He works for himself, and he subcontracts out, for other companies, but he's his own man. He does his own thing. He owns his own business for his living also. Okay, and all of us at one point or another have struggled. Okay, I'm now the younger generation of them all, okay? And sometimes I do struggle. Even 6 months ago, I was struggling hard to keep this place going. Okay, but what got me started into the car business, I'm going to tell you. My mother told me when I was like 3 years old, I used to piss all over my Matchbox cars trying to wash them. 5 years old, I was taking the corner of the couch, and picking up the corner of the couch or chair and putting my little Matchbox car underneath the corner of the chair and smashing the shit out of it, and I'd take like a little screwdriver and try to, push up the roof, and you know what I mean? It was cool back then. Okay, and then when I was like 8, 9 years old, I started building model cars. I'd buy like 2 of them, and I'd take one of them, build it, paint it, go right through it, and then I would like get a hairdryer out, or even secretly start the thing on fire and get it nice and warm and just like mush it into something, make it look like it was totaled. And then I would take the other model kit and I would freaking cut all the bad pieces, off the car that I just put together and mushed, and then I would like rebuild the whole front end or side or roof or whatever, using a little X-Acto knife and cutting out all the pieces, you know, and putting it all back together and then trying to paint it, you know, with like a little, you guys remember the Testors freaking model paint, you know, and I'd be down there with a paintbrush painting it, you know, and spray painting, and parents would be bitching because they smelt it in the house and all that crap. Then when I was 12 years old, I started working for Matt's. You guys know Matt, you've seen him in my videos, good friend of mine. I was working for his dad. Okay, his dad owned his own shop, which was, you know, a mile and a half down the road from my father's house. So I used to go down there and clean tools. And then Matt's dad and a trucking company also used the same building. There was the mechanic shop on one side that Matt's dad owned, and on the other side was the trucking company. So the trucking company guy, you know, started liking me, and he knew I wanted to start painting. So I was kind of dibble-dabbling, trying to learn how to paint on tractor trailers, like painting little parts and things like that. When I was 13 years old, a good friend of my father's, Duke, which he's passed away now, God bless his soul, he was like my second dad. My dad had a 4th of July party. Duke came over, and I says to Duke, I said, I want to learn how to paint cars. And he looked at me, and he had that chuckle. He looked just like John Wayne, just a little heavier set. But he talked like him, had the voice of him, he had the big hands, just the, you know, real manly, you know, gonna whoop your ass type. You know what I mean? And he kind of laughed at me. He says, well, if you're asking me to work tomorrow somehow, he says, you can come work for me, and I'll give you $5 an hour. This was at 13 years old, guys. So, and he had, his shop was about 8 miles from my father's house. His shop was actually where Walmart in Newark is now, okay? Which is right next to another collision shop. Walmart bought their property from my deceased boss, okay? But I rode my bicycle, guys, in the summer from my dad's house, 8 miles one way, not a big deal, to that body shop every single day. I worked my first full week. I made 200 bucks. Happier than pigs and shit. Okay, at 13, that's pretty good money. Okay, I mean, there's some weeks owning this place that don't make $200, okay? But I did that consistently, you know, until school, you know, went into effect. The first week I worked for him, I went and bought myself a brand new bicycle. I was riding, you know, I think it was a Haro or a GT or a Hutch or one of them. You know, it was a trick bike, okay? I used to wipe the thing out all the time and get hurt. My legs still hurt from it. But I went from one of those, and I bought one of the early mountain bikes when they first came out. Put a little rack on the back of it, you know what I mean? It was like a 10-speed, you know, and then I rode that thing because it was like the Cadillac of bikes at the time, you know what I mean? I had all them extra speeds to get up the freaking hills. And so, you know, I did that. I bought my first vehicle. Actually, he gave me my first vehicle. It was a 77 Toyota pickup truck. No title to it. Had a wooden flatbed on the back of it. And I got that thing to my dad's house. They towed it out there for me, and I used to bebop around that thing in the fields, and that's when I learned how to drive at 13 also. By the end of that summer, I bought a 1973 Jeep CJ5 also. And I left that at the body shop. I had it towed there. I bought it for 100 bucks off an electrician. I'd seen the thing, riding my bicycle past it all the time. Finally, I stopped, and he sold it to me for 100 bucks. We got it running. I had the body shop I was working for tow it out there. And, you know, I went through and did, like, my first real paint job on my own personal vehicle. I put, like, freaking half-inch plywood in the floors to fix the floors because I didn't know how to weld yet. You know, and I'm using fiberglass, you know, cloth and resin and, you know, building the sides because everybody knows how them damn Jeeps rotted out, okay? Did my first paint job on it. Took it to my dad's house, and that was actually my first vehicle sell right there at 13 years old. I mean, it was right before I turned 14. You know, it was in September of, God, it would have been like 86, 87, I think 87. So that was my first flip. I still had my little Toyota pickup truck. I used to bebop around the field in, and, you know, my dad dug a pond up on top of the hill, and I tried to Dukes of Hazzard shit a couple times, and my dad had to pull me out with a bulldozer a couple times because I couldn't make it across the pond, okay? That's when I started doing my little stunt driving too, which some of you guys don't even know about any of that shit. But it was a good time, you know, and that's what I did is I went to school, I rode the school bus, I got dropped off at the body shop, worked a couple hours a day, and my dad would pick me up on his way home from the sheriff's department every day from work. So, you know, I still had an income too when I was younger. I worked for Duke until I moved back in with my mother at 16 years old, and then I went to a place called Tim's Body Shop in Marion, New York. And Timmy is where I learned a lot of the good qualities of bodywork. Tim was about 30 at the time when I started working for him. And he's the guy that really taught me how to do welding and how to like really perfect body work. Even though I was pretty young, I was still doing a pretty damn good job for a kid my age. You know, I went in there as like an apprentice, but I was getting paid to do it. And Timmy, I mean, you know, to this day, he puts out some damn good work. I mean, small shop. His shop isn't, well, it's probably about the size of mine. He put 4 or 5 cars in there. But the work he would put out of that place is just amazing. You know, and he taught me a lot. You know, I really started learning how to paint when I worked for him. You know, my welding really improved. My body work really improved when I went and worked for him. And I worked for him for a couple of years till I was, I don't know, probably like 18, 19 years old, something like that. It was only a few years. I worked at McDonald's for a very short time just because my mother hated when I come home from the body shop every day covered in shit. So I went and worked at McDonald's, hated it, got myself fired pretty much on purpose because I totally hated it. And then I went back and worked for Duke, which was my real first job in a body shop. And it didn't take very long, and I was really picking up. I mean, I was working with the guys that had been seasoned, been doing the work for over 10 years, and or even longer. But I was keeping up with them. I was screwing shit up, which it happens, guys. This isn't the type of work. Now who the hell's here? All right, well, let me figure out who the hell this is, and I'll freaking continue this video. Son of a bitch. Okay, so where were we now? 18, working at Tim's Auto Body, learned a lot there. Then I decided after I left Timmy's, I decided to venture out on my own for the very first time. I was probably like 19, 20 years old, something like that. Opened my first little shop up called Sean's Auto Body, and I did okay there. But I made a lot of bad decisions because I was young. I was in the partying stage, drinking, you know, just partying it up, trying to be a business owner, becoming an adult. Did all that at the same time. Lasted a couple years and failed. Then I went for, after that I went and worked for a little used car dealer. Did detailing, things like that. I also worked at a new car dealer, did detailing, pinstriping. I took body work home, you know, did it at home for them. Then I went back to work for D&R, which was my, you know, really original boss in the body shop business. And it didn't take very long, and you know, I kicked ass, worked with a couple great guys, and eventually I was running the show after a couple years, or 3 years maybe. And I ran the body shop until Duke had passed away. And after he'd passed away, I decided to give business another shot. And I opened up another shop, a shop right in the same parking lot as D&R Body Shop, and a radiator shop. And it was about the same size shop as this. You know, you could put 4 or 5, maybe 6 cars in there pretty comfortably. There was a radiator shop in the other half of the building, and eventually I took over the radiator shop. But because of a lot of technicalities, I pretty much lost all of that too. I hadn't become registered, I didn't have a tax number, doing everything under the table. I mean, I pretty much was doing good and just kind of lost it all. And a couple people had a hard-on for me at the same time, and that didn't help either. So then I went and worked for Seasonal Automotive for a little while, towed for them, worked for Big Mike's Auto in Newark for a while, towed for them. And then I decided to move to Florida. And I moved down to Florida is when I really grabbed life by the horns. You know, I was in my mid-20s, about 25, maybe 26 years old when I moved down there, and I kicked major ass. I went down there, I worked for a place called Image Maker. They're based out of Tampa, Florida, and they basically were a mobile body shop, mobile detail company. They did paintless dent removal, they did interior repair. So basically they had it all covered. We used to go dealership to dealership doing all this work. And I also got a lot of training with DuPont, and really, I mean, really, I can't say I perfected the business, but I got damn close to it. And I lived down in Florida for, I don't know, about 2.5 years, I guess. After about 8 months of working for Image Maker, I decided it was time to venture out on my own again. I'm an entrepreneur, guys. I'm one of them guys that just like to go out and just stick it all out there and freaking do it. If I fail, I'm going to pick myself back up and I'm going to do it again. So I opened my own business down in Florida. It was called JSP Auto Solutions, and I did actually extremely well down there. I had a couple car dealers that were like very faithful to me. I did all of their work. I did a few new car stores. I actually had a new car store in Port Richey, Florida. I had a Honda dealership in Port Richey, Florida I did some work for, and then a bunch of little used car places like the place I do work for now. And I used to do the same thing. I went right to their dealership. I had a little S10 pickup, which some of you guys on Facebook have seen pictures of it and whatnot. I had a little air compressor in the back of it. Had tons of paint, you know, that I've just accumulated over the years. And when I left ImageMaker, they were getting rid of a lot of the paint, so I took all their old paint, like 100 at least different colors, you know, with, you know, half pints, quarts of paint, whatever. And then I went and bought my own clear coats and sandpapers and things like that. And I did extremely well. I lived in a beautiful home on the water, had a pool, had the life down there. Unfortunately, I got married and marriage didn't go so hot, and I kind of just, you know, just lost interest in it all. Florida just for some reason left a bad taste in my mouth, and I decided to come back home. And then after that, I went and worked for Bus Garage right here in Newark. Arcadia Transportation, they own a fleet of probably 15 buses, and then they own a few handicap accessible vans and some tourist wagons and things like that they run around a lot of state clients in. They're a subcontractor for the state of New York. And I was painting all their buses. At the same time, I got into the computer business. While I was in Florida, I started rebuilding laptops in Florida, carried that business on up here to New York, helped my grandparents at their thrift store doing computers for a good year and a half. And then I decided again to venture out on my own. And that's when I started up the Hack and Pack shop behind my second daughter's mother's parents' house. Which comes back to a couple of the early videos when you guys remember when I first came out on YouTube about 3 years ago. I think there is a couple videos from that shop on this channel today that I re-uploaded for you guys. And I hooked up with Justin that owns this car lot, and I started cranking out work for him, and now we're not really business partners, but I think we're going to merge that way eventually. And we worked together side by side. You know, it started out, he was bringing cars to me, you know, and I was painting cars, and the next thing you know, I became a rep for his dealership. So that therefore that allowed me to get into the auctions and buy and sell at the auctions. And, you know, it opened up a whole lot of opportunities for me to carry my business to a whole second level. So now Justin and I were not only good friends, we do a lot of business together. I mean, he's probably responsible for, I would say, 90% of the work that I do, and that's 90% of my income. If it wasn't for him, this Hack and Pack shop wouldn't exist. Okay? I mean, before, you know, when I was working out at the first Hack and Pack shop, a little two-car garage, you know, I mean, we're barely making ends meet, you know, and it's still that way sometimes here today. But, you know, thanks to the opportunities, you know, you're allowed to grow a little bit, you know. And now Justin and I we want to pretty much team up and have two separate dealerships, one run by me and one run by him on the same location if we can do it. And you know, we're going to carry a whole different variety of cars. I'll be dealing with more lower end $3,000 and $4,000 under cars, and he'll be dealing, you know, with the $4,000 and up cars. So he'll be dealing with more, you know, newer Trailblazers, Envoys, you know, extended cab pickups, things like that. And I'll be, you know, dealing with the older stuff, but kind of like the same amount of inventory, just maybe a little bit lower of a quality of a car, or an older car, I should say, maybe a more affordable car for people that can't come up with that $4,000 or get financed. So that's kind of where we're at today. And is what carried me this far in life is motivation. And you know, I failed a lot, guys. I mean, I was like, you know, the epitome. Okay, I just, everything I tried and I gave it my all, and I just failed and kept falling down, and I'd have to keep picking myself back up with very little help along the way, you know, and freaking shake my freaking head a little bit and brush myself off and say, okay, yeah, I had my own business, I failed, and I got to go work for what was my competition at one time. And it's a tough thing to do, guys. And, you know, there's other business guys out there that I'm sure, you know, that own small businesses that would say, you know what, it's easier just to drop my freaking wrenches and my sanders and, you know, close this place up and go out, you know, and work for the man for 10, 12, 15, 20 an hour or whatever, you know, the man's paying at the time. But me, I'm one of those people that I want to succeed in life. I have two beautiful daughters. One is 17 years old now, and one is 2 years old. And I'm trying to build a future for them. Not only for them, a future for myself, and a future for their moms, you know, so I can help support them better. And, you know, maybe later on down in life, you know, maybe my daughters will take over, you know, if I have a car dealership at the time. We're still doing body work in the car dealers. So therefore, I'm trying to give a stepping stone for my kids to have something to fall back on when they get older and responsible enough. And the reason why I keep doing this is because it's a passion. I have a passion for automobiles. I have a love for automobiles. You know, the Subaru is a great prime example. You know, you guys have probably seen video clips of that, and if you haven't yet, you will be soon because the weather will be turning. You know, it's a 91 Justy that I bought off a good friend of mine, which has passed away now, God bless his soul. You know, I bought the car off him and turned it into an amphibious vehicle, and everybody just laughed at me. They're like, Pisser, what the hell are you doing? This thing is not going to work. You know, you're going to waste your time, you're going to waste your money, you're going to pull that son of a bitch in the water, and that son of a bitch is going to sink or blow up, or you're going to die, or, you know, but it's one of those things, guys, I have that drive to succeed. And that's, if you guys want to own a business, or you do own a business, you know where I'm at. And if you do want to own a business, you have to have that drive. It can't be just about the money. It can't be just about saying, hey, I own a business, I'm cool. It's about having the freaking passion for what you do. You have to love what you do. All right, just met a gentleman the other day. He's got a passion for exotic fish. You know, he's trying to build himself a business out of his home, buying and selling exotic fish from all over the world. And that's where it all starts, guys. There was a young lady I talked to last night that wants to become a vet. You know, that was her childhood dream, is to become a veterinarian. And I says to her last night, go for it. And she's like, well, 9 years of schooling, you know. No, go for it. Start out as a vet assistant and freaking work your way up. So you might be 50 when you know what I mean, you become a vet finally. But it's all about our dreams, guys. It's all about doing what we want to do, and it's not just about one particular business. It's about everything. You know, I've always wanted to dabble in selling cars, and I always did over the years. I've had, guys, hundreds of cars. Hundreds. Okay, I'm guessing maybe 300-400 cars over the years. Since I was 13 years old, I had bought and sold probably 20 before I even turned 16. Before I even had a license. Okay? I mean, I've always had a passion to do that. I've always had a passion to take cars that were wrecked and rusted out and make them beautiful again and give them a little bit of a second life. Yeah, the rust repair might not last for more than sometimes 6 months, or sometimes more than, you know, a few years. But the thing is somebody gets in that car and they've got pride. They've got, you know, they walk around and they're like, wow, you know, I'm driving something that actually looks halfway decent. You know, it's all about image. It's all about passion. It's all about willpower. You know what I mean? I mean, you guys drive down the road and you see a car that's all rusted out, and, you know, 10 houses down, there's one that actually looks halfway respectable. And yeah, you know it's been packed and it's been rusted out and it's been repaired, and you don't know how well or how bad or whatever, but it looks so much better. You know, it's something you don't mind driving. It's something that you're proud to drive around. Even if the rust starts coming back through, it's never going to be as bad as how it initially started. You know, so for a few years the car will even look better, even though it does bubble in 6 months. It'll still look better than it did, you know, prior to all the work being done years later. So that's the kind of work I enjoy. I mean, I've taken cars and, yeah, I've actually spliced cars. I've taken 2 cars and cut them in half and built one, you know, using a frame machine and a measuring tape and a welder, and, you know, I mean, brand new cars that Duke's daughter drove. You know, I mean, you got to have the passion, though, and that's the thing. If you guys want to go out and start a business, don't do it for the money. Don't do it to say, hey, I own my own business. Here's my DBA. A DBA is just a piece of paper, guys. You get down to the courthouse or go down to the clerk's office, and it costs, what, 10, 20 bucks to get a DBA. I have one. I've had several. You know, a DBA is nothing. It says that you own something, but you got to make that piece of paper into a reality. You know, then you got to get a tax number, which I have a tax number also because I have to pay in quarterly income tax, and I have to pay, or quarterly sales tax. I mean, I have to pay income tax. You know, I have to, you know, there all has to be a paper trail for everything that you do when you own a business, and that's the part of it, you know, where I've learned the hard way because I have gotten behind on my taxes, and then my name gets in the paper, and you know, now finally, you know, I'm starting to pull out of that stupid hole just because, you know, I didn't really know how to do it all legitly. You know, I don't really know an accountant very well, and the one I did know, she passed away. So it's like, you know, trying to do everything that I do as a one-man band is difficult. But you have to have that willpower to keep going. I mean, you guys think about it. You know, I have a small shop that's very busy. You know, I dibble-dabble around quite a bit at the car dealer, you know, at the car auctions, buying and selling cars, helping him pick out cars, test driving cars, running cars from, you know, hours away from here, from auctions that are hours away, back and forth up and down the throughway, getting them here, getting them there, you know, whatever. Plus doing the YouTube thing, you know, and then snow plowing. I mean, guys, I'm a very, very busy man. I mean, what I do is equivalent to what 2 people do on a daily basis. You know, so, and I know a couple of you guys on a previous video, you're like, well, you should just stick to one thing, and you're good at body work, and, you know, just stick with what you know. You don't have it in you to become a car dealer, maybe, or you're just not the type of person. But guys, that's a second passion of mine. I want to do both. You know, I want to keep the Hack and Pack shop going for at least another year or 2 until I can really get into the used car business and start making my living there, and it's a lot healthier. And then I can just work on my own cars. You know, I can still do videos, you know, when I bring in somebody's, you know, whatever, and you know, give it a blitz job, or when I buy something and want to do some rust repair, or, you know, a classic car that I might want to restore someday. You know, I want to start doing more work for myself, and making my money work for me instead of me working for my money all the time. I mean, I would bust my ass here, guys, and you got to have that in you to do it, and every business owner knows that you've got to do it. And then, you know, you start getting bigger, you need employees, and then you got to freaking, you know, yeah, you can go the route as a subcontractor. I've done that before. You know, I've worked for guys like that, right, to take care of my own crap. You know, excuse me, you know, working for myself but for somebody else. You know, there's loopholes and all that stuff, guys, but then you still got to pay that man at the end of the week. And now you're not only worrying about supporting yourself, now you have another man possibly feeding his family that depends on you. So I'm not really sure what to do on that aspect of it yet. I'm thinking about trying to find somebody that you can just come in here like 10, 20 hours a week just for like overload purposes, like getting on that F-250 back there, working on that Corvair, working on the Mustang that your camera is set on. You know, and then I can keep doing the dealer cars and banging these things out, and then somebody else can work on these projects that I really didn't want in the first place, but they're here. You know what I mean? They all got to get done. So, you know, that's pretty much how it goes. So I hope you guys, you know, look at things in a different aspect a little bit. And there's guys out there that, you know, started out young, maybe got loans. That's another thing, guys. I've never had a loan. I've never had a mortgage payment. I've never had a freaking car payment, ever. Everything that I do, none of it's on credit. None of it. Except for once in a while a used car. That's it. Everything in the shop, around the shop, in my driveway, in my apartment is paid for. No loans. I don't have to worry about anything. If I die tomorrow, nobody's got to deal with anything but freaking getting rid of all my shit. And that's kind of how I like it. I don't want to, you know, anybody can go out if they've got good credit. And I ruined my credit when I was young. I don't have credit. You know, it's probably getting better because I have been paying off old past bills from when I screwed up when I was younger. But it's all paid for, and a lot of guys are, you know, well, I got this and you don't have that and you should have that. That's because a lot of guys out there have gotten loans and they've gotten credit, you know, and the first 5 years of their business was running off credit cards and loans and debt. I got none of that. You know, I've just got personal debt, like, you know, back electric bill or a back cable bill from way back when I was stupid. And, you know, little by little, I slowly freaking, you know, dibble away at that shit and get it. So I kind of have good credit, and maybe someday I will want to buy a home, a nice home, and I'll need to get a loan for it because nobody can come up with just $100 grand, you know, unless they're really good at stashing money. I'm not that good at that. to go buy a home or maybe buy a bigger building. You know, I'd love to own this property that I'm standing on right now. They don't want to sell it, but it would be nice to be able to go to a bank and say, hey, I need $100,000 and get it. You know, I mean, I could probably go to the bank and maybe get a loan now, but I choose not to. I choose to not go into debt. I choose not to have car payments. I could be driving a brand new truck like a lot of you guys are. You know, a lot of you guys driving new vehicles are looking down at me. Hey, look at you driving a 99 Chevy Silverado. Okay, yeah, my shit's paid for, brother. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about that payment. If I fall and break my leg, I don't have to worry about making that car payment. It's bad enough I'm going to have to worry about how to pay my rent and my electric if I fall and break my leg. You know, I don't have insurance on myself. You know, and at the age I'm at, it's probably a smart thing to do. So I don't want to bury myself in debt when it comes to business or my personal life. Like I said, everything sitting around here is paid for, guys. And yeah, maybe compared to many people, you know, around 40 years old in my age group, I have less than they do. But the reason because a lot of them have what they have is because they had wealthy parents that gave them that stepping stone. You know, like here, you know, here son, here's, you know, 50 grand, go get yourself started out in business and pay us back. Or, you know, maybe you were able to go out and get a bank loan and, you know, hey, here's 50 grand, you know, the bank gives you $400 or $500 a month and, or 600 or whatever it is, or 1,000 a month. And hey, here's your jump. Here's your way to get started in life. Guys, I do it all pretty much cash in a checkbook and a debit card. There's no credit cards in my wallet. None. So, I mean, there's many ways to approach it. And about the credit thing, guys, don't screw up your credit. You know, a lot of people go out and, you know, they get their first credit card and that's the first thing they do is go to Walmart and blow it. You know, like, hey, I just bought me a new TV and just bought me a new this and I just bought new shoes and new jeans and, you know, I just spent, you know, $1,000 on this credit card. I'm cool. Well, you got to think about it, guys. You got to pay that back. Okay? And you got to pay a lot of interest on top of it. Okay? I mean, you know, $1,000 credit card transaction over years, if you make the minimum payment, comes up to be like $3 or $4 grand that you paid for that shit that's now outdated or in the garbage. So you got to think about that kind of stuff. Yeah, my TV, I bought it used for a couple $100, 47-inch flat screen. It's paid for. I didn't spend $1,000 for it when they first came out. I bought it used. Okay, you got to make decisions like that. You know, being cool, having the best stuff, and having the best rims on your car, and having the best thump in the trunk. Don't get your car down the road. Like in a video I discussed about used car behind the scenes buying and selling. It's the functionality of what you're using and what you're doing. You know, the freaking Zenith 27-inch CRT TV will do the same thing that 47-inch flat screen does. It just don't look as cool on the table. Okay, that's the stuff you guys got to think about. You know, like a lot of you used to bust my balls. Well, you know, you go to Harbor Freight and buy cheap tools. You're right. The Snap-on truck, I can call a Snap-on truck and he can come here and I can give him $100 a week in payments. But that's $100 a week in payments. Again, very high interest for tools that, yeah, they might last longer and they are a better tool in most cases, but I don't want that payment. Something happens to me and I'm stuck with all these payments, I'm going to lose everything. Everything I worked hard for is now down to making a few payments that I might not be able to afford if something happens to me. And nobody's going to open up their checkbook and say, Sean, you know, here's $1,500 a month to keep your, you know, your lights on in your apartment and your shop and, you know, your rent paid, you know, until you get back on your feet. I don't have that luxury. So I got to keep my costs down. I would love to have that big Snap-on toolbox behind me. Over there is a Harbor Freight toolbox. I bought used. Okay, I paid almost new for it because it was a close friend of mine's, and God bless his soul, he's now passed away. So that toolbox is sentimental to me. It means something to me back there. You know, yeah, it's not as nice as a $10,000 Snap-on box, but I don't need that name to make money. I need the tools to make money. Yeah, Harbor Freight tools do break. Their paint guns suck. But guys, that's what got me started. That's what got me going, was these cheap tools. You know, and now I can go out and I got a $300 impact wrench that's nice, you know, an Ingersoll Rand. And, you know, VW Darren gave me a beautiful paint gun to use. You know, but I'm to the point now where if I almost need to go out and buy a new one, I could do it, okay? I went out and got a nice lift for the shop. Yeah, it's not a Snap-on lift, but it was a third of the money. And it does the same thing, okay? So some things, yeah, it's good to spend money on, and some things you can get by with the bare minimum. You know, like heat. Everybody's like, you got to get a freaking oil burner in the shop. Guys, that's like $4,000 just to get started by the time you buy the burner and plumb it all in. And then you got to find a place to get all the used motor oil. And a lot of you guys are like, well, you just go to the parts store. Well, there's probably 8 shops in this town that burn used oil for heat. So chances are I'm going to have a hard time getting my foot in the door to get this used oil to burn in my heater. So therefore I got all this money tied up in a heater and I can't get any oil to burn in it, okay? So it's all stuff that you got to think about. Yeah, I use these little propane heaters and yeah, they stink and yeah, I get lightheaded sometimes at night, but they're getting me by until I can work my way up to pay cash for one of those oil burning heaters. You know, I don't do oil changes here, so I don't have that unlimited supply of oil. You know, every time you change oil, you got 5 quarts plus. Okay, a gallon, it's probably, what, 2 hours or so in a heater. Well, I do 1 oil change a month here, and that's on my own shit, if that. So, I'm going to have, what, 20 hours of heat with all my oil changes at the end of the year? What's that? 20 hours is like 2 of my work days. You know what I mean? So, I guess that's how I think, and some of you might disagree, and I would love for you to leave your comments on what you think about all this. But that's just how I think, guys. You know, I can pay the propane man $300 to top off my tank, and it gets me by for 2.5, 3 weeks. It works, and it's relatively clean heat. You know, it's noisy. You know, a little fumey because I don't have a furnace here. But you know, guys, you gotta like build as you go. You don't do this overnight. You know, God didn't build Earth in a day. You know what I mean? You gotta do it in baby steps, and I'm almost 40 years old. I'm 2 years or a year and a half away from being 40, and you know, now it's time to kick in and start stepping up and start really playing the game and play it correctly. And playing it correctly is not screwing over everybody you see just to make that quick buck. Because I'll tell you what, you sell a used car to somebody, or you do a shitty paint job to somebody in town, you know, for $1,000 or whatever the case may be, and something happens with that paint job, it didn't come out right, or you sell that $1,000 car just to make a quick buck, and it breaks down, you're the asshole. That $1,000 that you needed to make, you know, to get your bills paid that week, could make you lose thousands and thousands of dollars later on down the road. Yeah, once in a while I sell a used $1,500 car out in front of my place, and yeah, they're not all perfect, and I tell the people that, hey, it's probably going to need this in 6 months, or it might need that, or hey, I had a rust hole in here and I packed it, you know, but it looks better than it did. You know what I mean? I'm honest and upfront with the people. Therefore, they know what they're getting into. Like, same thing with the paint jobs. I really don't like doing public work, and I take on really no public work because, you know, I got to deal with all the crap. You know, something happens, and they just bitch and net and I don't want it. I like doing my dealer work. The cars are in, the cars are out, he sells them, on to the next. It's a lot easier than dealing with the public. I don't want a body shop where I got to deal with the public every day because the public does not want to pay. Sometimes the public offers me less money than what the dealer pays me, and that's rock bottom prices, to do their shit. Not happening no more. You know, these complete paint jobs in here, there's not a one of them I'm making money on. They're all really considered losses. You know what I mean? And they're not what I want to do. I like to do my little quick jobs, in and out, few $100 jobs, or, you know, doing $1,000 box sides for the dealer and rocker panels or whatever. You know what I mean? Those are the ones I like because it's one customer, and if I keep that man happy, my bills get paid. Eventually down the road, I can open maybe a full service dealership, or Justin and I could team up and work together, and we can have a, you know, like Matt running a repair shop and me running a body shop, but me not necessarily doing all the body work, but finding somebody I can trust to do it. You know, that's all another stepping stone. But I'm not going into debt doing it. Maybe to buy a building, yes. But that would be it. You know, I want to make sure that I'm established, you know, publicly, legally, everything being totally 110% legal. Okay? And then we can go ahead and get that employee and get everything freaking going 100%. You know what I mean? Here I'm limited to what I can do. I can't take public work on here because I just can't, because of state zoning and laws and things like that. I can't. I can do my dealer work though and not get in trouble for it. That's why another reason why I stick for doing my dealer work. I enjoy it. I like Justin. You know, we work well together. You know, once in a while he'll stiff me on a used car or whatever. We'll wheel and deal. Like I'll do, you know, a paint job for a car. You know, and the car might be a pile, but you know what? I mean, it's kind of fun though at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just again, you got to have the passion for doing it. So hopefully you guys learned a little something from all this. And I mean, today I'm happy with the shoes that I'm in. You know, I mean, I'm in my comfort zone. I enjoy working on these used cars. I enjoy going to the auctions and buying and selling, or helping him buy and sell with his money. Okay, or even with my money, it doesn't matter. It's still the game, you know. Like now I go to the auctions, a lot of guys recognize me and I shoot the crap, you know, or catch rides with other dealers sometimes, and you know, ride up there and, you know, shoot the crap and talk about cars and sales and, you know, how, you know, their financing works. Or, you know, one guy that I'm good friends with does a buy here, pay here place, and, you know, he broke it all down to me how all that works. And, you know, like Justin, you know, we do everything through a couple finance companies or cash. You know, people either come in, write a check for their car and they own it, or we deal with a couple, you know, high-end finance companies that finance these cars. And maybe someday we'll make a video talking about all that too, how all that stuff works. You know, the ins and outs and the pros and cons, but not today. So I mean, there's different levels too, you know, and every guy in there is after the same thing. You know, half the guys in there do it just for the money at those auctions. You know, you see them walking around driving their brand new BMWs and, you know, going in there and buying cars, and you can tell those are the guys that really don't have the passion as much as us smaller guys do. You know, like me and a couple of the other dealers that I hang with, you know, we go in there because we're you know, it's the thrill. You know, it's like, oh, what are we going to get? Are we going to get screwed over? Are we going to freaking get a good deal? You know, it's not always about making the money. It's about the game and how the game's played, and it's just the enthusiast part of it. You know, every time I go to the auction, I feel like I'm at home. And when I don't go to the auction, like today, I should be in Buffalo today at Buffalo Auction. You know, it's like, man, I feel lost if I don't go to these auctions now. You know what I mean? And nobody's going to miss me there, really. But it's just going there and seeing all the different cars, and, you know, how some of these body guys just kind of like take Bondo in their hands and over a rust hole, you know what I mean? And, you know, spray can over the hole, just seeing the shitty body work and the good body work, and, you know, the crap people are trying to sell that's, you know, tranny slipping or suspension falling apart, or old Dodge Ram, one of them, you open the hood's breaking in half, and, you know, it's kind of just fun. But you got to have that kind of that mindset when you go there, that it's not just about making money. It's about the fun. It's about the thrill. It's about making it happen. And then it's about passing that used car on down to the consumer and having that peace of mind, knowing that you picked out something good for them, and they're going to get down the road safely in it, and it's going to last them. You know, so it's kind of fun. Okay. So if you're going to do something, you're going to open a business, don't do it just for the money. Do it with a mindset that you're going to enjoy it and that you're going to love it. And then the money will start coming. But don't do it just for the money, guys. Do it because it's what you love. You know, always go back to your inner childhood. As being almost 40 years old, you know, I look at back when I was 5 or 10 years old, and, you know, when people first started asking you, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I want to be a car man. Guys, I'm right here living the dream of my 5-year-old self. And that's what you guys got to do if you want to open up your business. You got to live that dream. Don't just do whatever's going to make you money. Okay, there's guys out there that do this and do that, and they dabble into a bunch of different things because they enjoy it, or because they're going to make money. You got to do it because you enjoy it. Like snow plowing, I really don't make no money on snow plowing, guys. I could probably make a ton of money if I really wanted to. You know, and I've got that controversial video up why snow plowing costs so much, and a lot of guys go on there, well, gee, you know, whining, you should be making a lot more. It's not really about the money, guys. It's about helping people, and it's about enjoying pushing snow around. You know, it's about bitching at, you know, getting up at 4 a.m. to go plow. But then at the end of the day, you know, you're like, hey, you know, I might have made $100 or a couple $100 or whatever, you know, and I got to ride around in a truck, and now the freaking phone's going off. Son of a bitch. But it's all about doing what you enjoy doing. Like here, I don't make a ton of money here, but I am starting to accumulate some better vehicles. I have twice as many cars as I had 2 years ago when I started the Hack and Pack shop, and the quality of them all is way better. You know what I mean? So, you know, that's another thing. It's about passion. Yeah, I could probably get 10 grand for that white Trans Am, and if somebody offered me 10 grand for it, I would take it. I got to enjoy the car. I had fun with the car. I made the car into something that it wasn't before. I got my enjoyment out of it. I got my use, and I'll go out and buy another one. you know, and then do it all over again. It's like when you get a car like that and you put it all together, you know, it's the feeling of the first time getting behind the wheel of it and freaking driving it. It's like hours, hundreds of hours sometimes, and thousands of dollars to make that car into something, all to start it up for the first time and put your license plates on it and pull out of your driveway and cruise around town. All that work for that one moment. And then slowly it starts to wear away. After 2 or 3 years, it's like, well, now I'm kind of bored. You know, now what do I work on? I've done everything I could possibly do to my car. There's like nothing else I could really do to it to make it any better. It's as good as it's going to be. Not saying my Trans Am's to that point yet, but it's close. Yeah, I could strip it all down and repaint the whole thing again, but it looks fine the way it is. So I change it. You know what I mean? But I like having the projects. I like saying, hey, I used to own this car and I used to do this to this car. You know, it's also conversation. And it's also a passion for a car guy to have hot rods like this, like the Jeep. You know, the Jeep's been in my family for many years. And it's sitting over there on the other side of this wall, waiting to be worked on. So now the Trans Am's about done. The Jeep's got to come out of the woodwork now. You know, it's could use a paint job. It's got a roommate seal leak. It needs axle perches. Needs a different rear drive shaft. Needs a new, you know, just odd and end shit. Radiator's leaking in it. You know, I could hop in and put a dealer plate on, drive it down the road today, pump tire up and go. But I want to bring that Jeep back to life. Will I sell it? No. It'll go to one of my daughters. Okay? That Jeep, you know, it's a family thing, and it's going to stay in the family. I had guys offer me $10,000, $12,000 for that Jeep a few years ago. Could have really used the money. Trust me. Said no, because it's like a family loom, that Jeep. So, you guys got to love what you do. Otherwise, there's no sense. No sense in doing it. Go work for the man then. But you got to have that mindset that you love what you do. I love what I do here. I love it. It's not the healthiest profession to pick. You could definitely find other ways to make money besides painting cars for a living. But, you know, if you do it right and you price it right, you can make a decent living off it. You're not going to get rich unless you know, really strap down and build a beautiful building and do insurance work and, you know, get a good team of guys to help you. Like Butch's Body Shop is a good example of that. You know, Butch, he started out the same way, doing dealer work, you know, behind his house in a 3-car garage, I believe he had. You know, and then he went and built the building he's in now, and, you know, now he's got nice things. You know, he's got a beautiful boat. He built a Batmobile. You know, he's got some nice old classic cars. He's got a real nice Mustang. You know, he's got a great team of guys, which some of them are his sons working for him. And he's got, you know, Glenny that, you know, is a hell of a frame guy, and he's like Butch's manager. You know what I mean? So, and Butch does well. I don't know how much money he makes, but he's got nice things. He's got a beautiful home, and he's got a beautiful shop. And it stems behind that dream of doing what you want to do. And it all starts out as in your childhood. If you guys are in a career that's something you hate doing, what's the sense in going to work 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 every day doing something you hate? Truck drivers, you know, they start out, you know, maybe riding with somebody or going to school or doing whatever they do, and then next thing you know, they're working for a company, you know, using somebody else's truck, making so much an hour, and then next thing you know, they buy their own truck. Why do they buy their own truck? It's because of the passion. It's not, well, you might make a little more money owning your own truck. Well, actually, I think you do. But it's about the passion. You know, it's about getting in that vehicle that's yours, and it's your business with your name on that door. It's like that with any business, guys. So keep that in mind, okay? If you're going to disagree with everything I'm saying, and that's normal, and I urge you to leave your comments. And a lot of you are going to agree with me and say thank you, and I urge you to do that too. That's why I put these videos up for you guys, so you can learn and you can get another person's point of view, whether it's right or wrong. And that's the thing about my channel. You know, I show you guys how to do things my way, not necessarily saying it's the right or wrong way. It's just how I do it. A lot of you guys put videos up how you do it, not that it's the right or wrong way again, but it's how you do it. And that's the beauty about YouTube, and it's the beauty about these videos, is we all learn from each other. because it's something we love to do. Sorry, my throat's getting dry here. So take it with a grain of salt. But if it's something you love to do, start pursuing it now. Don't wait. Say, I'm going to do this in 10 years. You know what? Talking's talking, guys. If you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk. I walked that walk. I talked and I walked. And most people that know me personally will tell you that. I'm one of those people, I do it and then I tell you I did it. I don't tell you I'm going to do it. I do it and then say I did this. Hang on. Throat's dry. And that's what you got to be if you're gonna do this. No matter what business. You discuss your dream, you think about your dream, you do it. Period. End. And I'm doing it. Don't know how long I'm gonna live. I could live 6 months, I could live 50 more years. Doubt that, but when I die though, I'll die doing what I love doing. And that's what really matters. You enjoyed your life. You did what you enjoyed. You love life. You love your children. You become a good family man or woman. And you do something that you want to do. I mean, there's nothing worse than driving to work every day, hating that you have to go to work. We all have to do it to make money, guys, or most of us do. But to drive, to make that, say, hour drive or half-hour drive to work every day in a car that you hate, a job that you hate, working minimal wage or whatever, or even you're making a ton of money but you just hate it. Why do it? Find something that you like doing. Or then you come up with the idea, well, gee, nobody around will hire me, or, you know, I don't know, or, you know, whatever. Well, find out. Learn it. If you want to learn how to do something, guys, the internet is a great tool. Like, I didn't know where the paint code was in the sock. I'm looking everywhere in the son bitch, under the hood, which was more allowed than were. Door jamb, trunk, firewall. I totally overlooked the other sticker in the door jamb. I had to go look it up. Knowledge is power. And you can learn or know anything you want to know. If you're watching my video, chances are you have internet access. So if you have a question about something, or you're worried that you're not going to be able to do it or whatever, look it up and learn from other people. Tons of knowledge out there. I look stuff up all the time. You just have to be resourceful. If you want to own a business, you have to be resourceful. Don't mean necessarily cutting corners. I mean being resourceful. Thinking outside of the box. 80% of the businesses out there today, they all started somewhere. Thinking failure. Probably almost all of them. I'm going to fail. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. And a lot of these businesses are multi-million-dollar companies. Other businesses, they were taken over from other people. You know, like, hey, this business is doing great. I'm going to take it over and make me some more money. Like Google or YouTube is a good example of that. You know? But it all starts somewhere. It all starts with, like Walmart, any of them, guys. It started with one person's idea and one person's dream. You know? Condoms. There's a business. Somebody thought about cutting a freaking pinky off a freaking rubber glove and sticking it over their dick. But look at the multi-million-dollar freaking industry in that. Know what I'm saying? Pinky. Son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding, guys. But you know where I'm at here. You know, everything in the shop, everything that you see was thought up of somebody. Somebody had that idea in their head to make this happen. Like a trophy, or a radio, or a car, or a freaking rubber strip, you know, between a door and a roof. It was a thought that somebody came up with. Everything that you see here that turned into a change in an industry one way or the other. Whether it's drywall or certain drywall screws, or how you cut wood, or how you paint a car, or clear plastic. Somebody thought of this stuff, guys, and that's what you got to do if you want to make your shit happen. You got to think of something, and then you just got to pursue it, and you got to study it, and you got to do it. Period. End. You guys that are not able to do it because of physical reasons or mental reasons or whatever, you can assist other people in doing it with your knowledge. A couple body guys I talked to are retired, can't walk worth a shit. One guy I talked to in California the other day, you know, had a shitload of heart surgery done. You know, same deal. He's like, I'm that guy now that, you know, it's like I can't do it. I gotta like tell people how to do it. I hate being that guy. But you're that guy that is telling another guy that don't have the knowledge how to do it. So you are still serving a purpose. You're not a failure because you can't physically move or whatever the case may be right now. Any of you guys, right here, this is knowledge, this is power, guys. This helps these hands. But what you know up here can help these hands on another body work. And that's what you got to keep in mind. Maybe you can't physically do it, but you can tell somebody how to do it and help them grow. And if they're growing, chances are they're going to help you grow too. It's just how it works, guys. So again, I'm going to shut up. I got work to do. Freaking, it's dropped 15 degrees in here since I started this video because the heat's been off. I got this freaking snob to do the hood on, and hopefully we'll get back to some how-to videos pretty soon. I thought I had a shit ton of work coming, but he's been selling before we even get the bodies done on him. So hopefully we'll level off. I can get back onto this Mustang, this Corvair. They're on my butt for that. Seasonal's on my butt for that F-250. So hopefully we can get back to the how-to videos here pretty soon. Okay, it takes me a lot of time to make these videos, even though it might only be a half-hour video. Still, guys, that's a few hours out of my time to edit, cut, you know, find the camera, you know, do all that stuff to do it. And when I'm so busy, it's just hard to do it. So today was kind of a relaxing day. As long as I get this hood down and the gas door painted on this today, that's all I got to do. And it's, I don't know, getting close to 11. I got to take the Cadillac down. I think that's sold. Yeah, I got to head down now. You get that inspected and, you know, come back here and kick the snob's ass. So y'all have a goody-goody. Thank you for watching. I hope I enlightened you guys a little bit. And, you know, I'm here if you guys, you know, need anything. You know, I try to get back to you guys as much as I can. I do get bombarded with comments and emails, so don't get mad at me if I don't get back to you. You know, just email me again. You know, don't get pissed off because I ignored you, because I don't ignore anybody. It's just, it takes a long time to get back to everybody. Okay? I do mean well. Okay? But you guys have a good one. I got to take this Cadillac down, get it inspected real quick, and a gentleman's supposed to be picking it up tonight, I think. And he's trading in a Honda Accord, which I may end up driving for a little while. So if that car ends up here, we'll do a little video on that. It's got a little bit of rust repair and a little dent in it that needs some work, and maybe we'll make some how-to videos on that puppy for you. So you guys have a good one. Later.